What have been some effective ways that you've used to help your clients over the years measure progress without using the scale?
So I do like circumference measurements, so we can see like the gains that we're making in our arms, the waist staying the same or going down. So I like circumference, and I like pictures. And I like pictures once every couple weeks, and I'll have them. So when I was coaching virtually online, so coaching in person was different. I was seeing them all the time, but became more challenging when I was virtual. And so this was like one of the challenges: is like, how do I make sure this person's staying on track, and how do I communicate this? And so what I would have them do was take a front, side, and back shot wearing the same bathing suit or outfit. Basically men, it would be like a shorts, no shirt on with that. Women, would be like a bikini or something. And I would want to see the front, the side, and the back. And I'd want them to take it at the same time, first thing in the morning, say Friday mornings or whatever. And I'd want that every 2 weeks or so. And I would only use this when they would get discouraged. It's crazy how people cannot see the change on themselves. But as a trainer, you know this, and you're really good at being able to do this too. Like we've been looking at bodies for a long time. And so when somebody who is like so hung up and insecure about their belly or their arm fat or something like that, that's all they see, right? They don't notice that their shoulders are starting to develop this nice little cap. They don't notice that their waist is starting to taper in a little bit, or their thighs are actually getting some shape to them, like they're building muscle. They don't see that. All they see is the flabby arm or the belly fat, and they're like, I'm not changing. So I would use those pictures, and I would actually go over it with them. And I'd have the original ones that they sent me when we started. Said, man, Susie, look at this, or Doug, look at this, man. When you first started, like, look at how our shoulders were all sloped and you didn't have any. Look at the development on your shoulders and your traps right there. And man, look at your waistline. You're starting to have that V taper. And like, so I would help them see that, because you have a really hard time being non-biased and subjective when you are judging yourself, and then also encouraging them to see people they haven't seen. It's funny how that's a great formula for this too, is like, hey, when was the last time you haven't seen a cousin, an aunt, a family, someone who loves you, someone who genuinely cares about you? You haven't seen them in a month or so. And I would prescribe that. You need to go see somebody, because I'm telling you right now, as your trainer, you're doing great. You're looking good. It's a very slow process, especially when you do it the right way and the healthy way and the sustainable way. It's incremental change. And then always point to them, like, what do we do? How much more are we eating? Because if you've done a good job, their appetite is increased. They're eating more food than they've ever ate. They're stronger in the gym. And so I would point to those things, right? So part of our job as coaches and trainers too is like, we become so, like, everybody hires us to lose weight or to get in shape or to get shredded or so like that. Is like, is to part of the process is getting them to see the full health circle too, right? It's like, hey, don't forget, I know you want to look amazing in that bikini. I know we're going to get that 10%. That's my job. I'm going to take you there. But I'm also, it's important to me that I teach you about all the other things that this is providing for you besides just this look. Because if you become so fixated on that, you're going to find out you're never going to be happy. Because guess what? I've gotten on stage and been the most ripped dude in the building, and I can still point out flaws, and I'm still not happy, and I still want, like, that doesn't solve that feeling that you have. That is something much deeper rooted than a body fat percentage. So if we don't figure that out along the way of this journey, you're going to get there and still be unhappy. And it's 10% isn't going to make you happy like you think it's going to be. So my job is to help you realize all these other things, like your libido, your mood throughout the day, how well you're sleeping, how well you get up, your consistent energy through the day. We got rid of those dips that you originally were talking about, like bloat and feeling like you're retaining all this water. Like, we've gotten rid of that for you. Mental clarity and that fog that you used to have, like, we've gotten rid of that. Like, how sharp you, like, your performance at work, like, man, this is the beautiful part about this profession and what you're doing in this journey you're on. Like, it bleeds into so many things into your life that repay you more than just your body fat percentage. And please, as my client, please do not just get fixated on the 10%. I promise you, I'm going to get you there. That's my job. but I gotta help you along the way see all these other things, because those are the things that I'm talking about. That's actually what's going to keep you going forever. The 10%, like I'm going to show you, you're going to get there and you're going to be temporarily happy. I'm not going to lie. It feels good to look ripped. Like it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. Walk around with abs and people, oh my God, and compliment you. It's a great ego feed. But guess what? Just like getting rich, the same thing. Like that shit wears off before once you've bought it all and you've had all, like, and then all of a sudden you realize like, oh shit, like there's more to life than just this. Guess what? Fitness is the same way too. Like you will find out that even being the most shredded person in the world, it's like it's cool for a while and then it don't even matter anymore. And then all you have to fall back on are all the other things that it's done for your life. And if you've been so fixated on just becoming 10% body fat and you lose sight of all those other things, then that's why so many people fall off the wagon, because we don't have a getting in shape problem in this society. People get in shape all the time, all over the world. We have a staying in shape problem. We lose the body fat, we get in shape, and then what happens is people realize, oh, what's it all? It's not even that. It's cool. It was cool for a day. It was cool for my wedding. It was cool for Vegas for the weekend, but then it was like, not that important to me anymore, because we didn't do a good job of connecting the dots to all the other things that it was providing for you that you ignored because you were so fixated on the 10%. So to me, like part of this journey of doing that and is teaching that to your clients while you're also getting them in shape.
Yeah, one of my favorite ways to show progress, specifically with men, is like, when they first start doing like a dumbbell bench press, they'll be like wobbling, like sometimes with like 15s, because they lack some shoulder and chest stability, and they're pressing 50s, and I'm like, bro, like a month ago or whatever, 6 weeks ago, you were like you were almost like rolling off the bench because you didn't have any stability in your upper body muscles with 15-pound dumbbells. Now you're pressing 50s. Like there has to be like I don't we don't need a body fat calculator. You have to have put on muscle. Like it's impossible not to have put on muscle based on that. And and you're right. Like people they fall out of love, I think, with the process. They get so excited at first to start this journey, and then once things kind of settle in, they're like, how do I how do I stay consistent? How do I not fall off the wagon? Would have been some things that you've helped your clients do, like maybe like some things they focus on every day or every week to make sure that they're still like falling in love with the process of fitness.
Dude, it's 100% what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm a perfect example of this. Yeah, it doesn't get much more as far as the pinnacle of being ripped, right, or looking a certain way than becoming a men's physique pro, right? Like that was like the peak of that. And so, how do I stay motivated to keep lifting it? It's like has nothing to do with the way I look. Like so on the show I shared the other day, like it blows my mind. Like I've connected these dots. I am such a better husband and partner at home when I get my workouts in. And it doesn't have to be a crazy workout. I don't have to have hit a PR. Just get a nice, good workout. Broke a little bit of a sweat, got a nice little pump, feel good. And what I notice is when I get home from work on days like that, I just have this, and I don't think about it. It just, I've now looked, this is me looking out and reflecting like high level. Like I go right to like doing the dishes, straighten up the house, playing with my son, helping my wife out with the honeydew list. And it's like, and then the days when I miss training, especially if I miss a couple days in a row and I come home, I want to plop on the couch. And then I don't want to get up and wrestle with my son. And like, then I'm looking over at the kitchen and I'm like, oh, I need to get over there and clean. I don't want to do it right now. And like, it is wild, like how different I am around the house. And so I've connected my training to being a better father and a better husband. And that's really important to me. That's the place I'm at in my life right now is like, I all I think about is being a great dad, and all I want to give my partner is to be an incredible husband, right? And so that's part of what motivates me, and so I train that way. So when I lift, I'm not in there going like, oh, I got to hit this PR, or I got to stack more. It's like what I'm thinking about is like, man, I get a good lift in right now, and I'm going to feel so good today. When I get home, I'm going to be a good dad. I'm going to be a good husband, and so and that's my thing, right? So maybe you don't have a kid, and maybe you're not married, so it doesn't have to be that. So maybe you notice you crush work. And by the way, every client of mine that I've ever had that is on point with their training and their diet and like that, they've all told me like, man, I'm way more productive at work. I'm way better at my sales job. I'm way better at whatever it is you do when you are a healthier, fitter version of yourself, you are better at everything. So take whatever it is you like to do. By the way, that could be a hobby, it could be a snowboarder. You could do whatever it is that you do. The healthier version of you is better at that. And so you have to learn to connect those dots. And so a good trainer does a good job of like finding that out about a person, right? So like you and I, we've probably trained everything under the sun, from an engineer to a teacher to an athlete to like a student to, so if we do a good job, like we're learning about them and the things that make them tick, right? If I got this high performing CEO who's not married, doesn't have a kid, I'm not going to talk to him about working out makes me a better father, and like that's why you should do it. Like
Right,
he don't
right.
give it. But talking to him about how much he's crushing it at work, and like, hey man, how when you run those meetings, have you ever connected the dots? Like, and I used to ask stuff like this, like, because I would know this about my clients, like, oh, big meeting he's got on Friday, right? He's got to speak to 300 people, or maybe he's got some big deal, big multi-million-dollar deal they're negotiating. Like, I'm training him, and then I'm talking to him afterwards, like, hey, can you tell a difference when you have those big meetings like that, like the way we trained this last week and your consistency around it? And always, when you help them make that connection, they go, "Oh yeah, you know what? Now you say it, like, yeah, no, I felt good. I felt real good going in this one." Or, they weren't training, and you help them connect the bad dots too. Like, hey, we kind of fell off for a couple of weeks. How's work been, or how are those meetings, or how those things? And they're like, "Oh man, Adam, I'm dragging ass, and I'm just sluggish in sales right now." And so, that's the key. The key is figuring out what makes this client tick. What are their passions, whether that be their home life, their hobbies, their work, whatever it is that they're doing, and then showing them and teaching them how much better they are at all those things when they're a healthier version of themselves, and getting them to say, this is why you're going to do this. You know why? Because that's a love. That hobby you do, you're probably going to do that for the rest of your life because it's a hobby, it's a passion. So let your training dictate, or let your training inspire you to be better at your craft or your hobby, because you're going to do that forever. And so, but getting 10% body fat, that's like a moment in time, or like getting shredded for a show. It's a moment in time that will come and go. And that's not what's going to keep you training forever. And by the way, if you're so fixated on the way you look, and that is because, by the way, we have examples of this all over on Instagram of coaches and trainers that are obsessed with the way they look. Those people are still broken. They're training from a place of insecurity. They're training because they're still so insecure with the way they look that they have to do those things. And they've presented to you in the world like they've got it all together, but they're just as fucking broken as the 30% body fat guy, maybe worse. And so you got to help them understand that too. Like all these people that we celebrate and we put on pedestals, like they're so special. It's like, nah, most of them are fucking massively insecure, and they're running from something, and they're so afraid and so insecure that they've become obsessed with the way they look, and they're not truly happy. They're not truly balanced. They're not truly healthy. And so, yeah, my job as a trainer when I'm training these clients is to teach them all that, right? Because they don't. A lot of them don't think that. I didn't think that. I didn't look at the fittest people, in the world and think that they were massively insecure. I learned that over years or decades of being in this space of like, oh shit, they're some of the most broken people. Yet all of my overweight clients look at them and think that they're so special. And I'm like, and so helping them realize that too, like, hey, be careful what you wish for. Like those people, just because they walk around with abs year round, do not think for 1 minute that they're happy or have it all figured out. Like that's not true health. True health looks like the ability to stay healthy, stay fit, but then also be able to enjoy a nice dinner with your wife and have a couple glasses of wine and not feel like you have to count your calories and your macros, and to miss 3 or 4 days in the gym but still be okay and still stay healthy, because you've learned that when you miss those days of working out, those aren't the days you also eat your dessert. Those are the days that you stay a little more tight on the diet and you don't eat like, and like you've learned true balance. You've learned how to utilize, food and enjoying those things, with your family and friends, and yet and still balancing it with staying healthy and fit. And like that's the place I want to get you. And that's what I'm always trying to communicate to my clients is connecting those dots.